tip and a backhand across. That one deflected wide. Konechny spills down with 6. Puck still loose. No set keeps it moving. The NHL's all-time win record now belongs to these Boston Bruins. They win their 63rd game of the season. 63, 12, and 5, and still 2 games on the schedule for the 22-23 Bruins.
Just remarkable.
"20 seconds remaining. The Golden Knights start to celebrate on their bench. The silver trophy to the Golden Knights.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Stanley Cup!
Hey, does your home have algae or stain?
What the puck is going on?
All right, this is What the Puck is Going On, November 28th, Tuesday evening. Steve, it has certainly been a while. It is definitely time to talk some hockey. I'll put it this way. Neither of our football teams are doing very well, so maybe it's time to hone on in. So, Steve, how are we doing this evening?
Not too bad, David. I know our Capitals had a rough time out on the West Coast last night in San Jose, who got their second win in a row. The struggling Sharks. The Caps were real. They were pretty good, and now hitting a little bit of a stumbling block here. So they'll need to break out of that for sure. But a full slate tonight, David. So looking forward to it.
Yes, absolutely, Steve. All right, so let's go over some standings here. We'll get kind of caught up on this since we are back in action here on What the Puck is Going On. We'll start off in the Atlantic Division. Boston Bruins, Steve, a little bit of a surprise here to me anyway, leading this division at 14-4-3. That's going to be good for 31 points. The Florida Panthers, again, I think this is a little bit of a surprise to me as well, at 13-7-1 with 27 points. And in third place in that division, the Detroit Red Wings sneaking in there with a record of 11-6-3, and that's good for 25 points. So, Steve, let me ask you this. With the top 3 in the Atlantic there, are you any surprised by this?
Episode 1, I said, watch out for Boston. They're still going to be good, even though they've lost a couple of players that they would probably get off to a very nice hot start. Now, they've had a struggle here their last couple of games out. In fact, they've given up a ton of goals, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. In fact, they've lost 3 in a row there. But generally, overall, Boston off to a hot start. They'll need to get back in the win column if they want to keep it going. They're not at the point yet where they've pulled away from the pack, kind of like as they were at this point last year. They were well ahead of the field, a little bit closer for sure this year. So a different dynamic with all that. And yeah, Detroit, we've maybe we're a year too early on them last season. And this year, looking real nice. Winners of 3 in a row now are the Red Wings. Florida, you figure they were going to rebound decently from the Stanley Cup. But I'll tell you what, even Tampa Bay is a little bit of a surprise to me. I thought they would have a little bit of a drop-off. But they are still 3 games above 500 anyway, in regulation, that is. And, still right there in the top 8. Carolina's right where we figured they would be, and you'll go through the rest of it.
Right. And the Detroit Red Wings, Steve, looks like they win out on the Patrick Kane sweepstakes. He is heading to Detroit, is what I see in the news lately.
Yeah, nice veteran. That's what they need. That would be good for them.
Yeah, that's going to be really good for them. So look for Detroit to maybe stay in this position. I think this is third place is probably where they come in at the end. I'm thinking you're absolutely right. We jumped the gun just a hair last year, Steve, but I think we can make a real case for the Wings as they're playing some strong hockey right now and are in good position. So let's jump into the Metro. We have the New York Rangers leading this division, 15-4-1. That's going to be good for 31 points. Carolina Hurricanes, 12-8-0, good for 24 points. So no overtime losses for the Canes yet. Philadelphia Flyers at 11-9-1, and that's good for 23 points. Steve, any surprises in the Metro?
Let's see here. Well, as far as the Metro goes, to me, the Rangers obviously have rebounded well after that playoff debacle that they were involved with New Jersey. So they're off to a really hot start here. They only have the one loss in overtime. So 15-4-1 with that one loss in overtime. Carolina, you figure where they'd be right where they're at. But Philadelphia, decent. They've played some good hockey. They've just been consistent, a little bit better than 500 just about the whole season. It's not like they're blowing your doors off or anything, but right in the thick of it anyway, there come playoff time. Well, I guess it's never too early to start talking playoffs. I mean, we are 20 games in, so we are a decent way into the season, right at the quarter mark anyway. It depends who you are. Some of these teams have played 19 games, some have played 22, but figure we're at the quarter pole anyway. And this next stretch here of December and January will really tell a lot about these teams. And Philadelphia, we will learn more about them for sure.
Right, Steve. And if we're going to go ahead and talk playoffs, let's go ahead. I'll read out the wild card teams there in the East. As of right now, the first wild card spot belongs to the Tampa Bay Lightning at 10-7-5, good for 25 points. The second spot belongs to the Toronto Maple Leafs at 10-6-3, and that's good for 23 points. And Steve, there's our Washington Capitals right behind. So at the quarter mark, after Thanksgiving, we are still seeing the Caps, hanging around that playoff level there. So we're hoping that things get tightened up there. Two really bad losses last time out. Next game up for them is going to be against the LA Kings, and that'll be tomorrow night at 10:30 p.m. as they are out west. So that's going to be a really, really tough game for them, Steve. That team is clicking right now, and when I get to their record, you'll understand why. But below the Capitals is the New York Islanders, also with 22 points, the Sabres with 22 points, and Pittsburgh with 20, Montreal with 20. So it's all still pretty jumbled up, Steve. East wild card, what do you think there?
Well, Pittsburgh not living up to expectations. One. Buffalo is another team you're looking for to take another step forward this year. And just sitting there right at 500, they just haven't done that yet. In New Jersey, their stock down on them for sure, as they should be higher up than where they are in the standings. So through the first 20 games or so, disappointing campaigns for Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and New Jersey. Meanwhile, Montreal, a little bit of a surprise there. And the Islanders, you figure kind of right where they might be, right on the cusp of the playoffs. And there's lonely Columbus and Ottawa again. Ottawa, see, the deal with them, though, is they are right at 5. They've played, it looks like, the least amount of games of anyone. So they still have a couple, if they could get a couple of wins in a row, they would be better than what their record kind of actually shows. But Columbus, to me, clearly looks like the worst team in the East, for sure. And Just I think we just expected more out of Pittsburgh and New Jersey. And I'll say even Buffalo at this point. The teams that are kind of foiling them are the teams we just talked about: Philadelphia, Detroit to some extent, and even maybe Tampa Bay a little bit. You kind of expect the other guys to be up there towards the top, but even Toronto down where they are with their 19 or with their 23 points. I figured maybe they'd have just a few more, although they are 10-6-3, which is not the worst in the world. But, lots of hockey to play. Everyone is basically still alive in this thing, the way that I see it anyway.
Oh, absolutely, Steve. Like you said, we're only at the quarter mark. So, I mean, there's a ton of things that could happen. So let's jump into the Western Conference, and we're going to start out, Steve, with the always interesting Central Division. The Colorado Avalanche are leading that division at 15-6-0, so no overtime losses for them as well. And that's going to be good for 30 points. Dallas Stars in second at 12-5-2. That's going to be good for 26 points. And Winnipeg holding the third spot as of now at 12-6-2. That's also good for 26 points. So you got to see that there's a tie for second and third there. Steve, anything standing out here in the Central, or this is kind of what we thought it would be?
Well, it's the same thing as last year, really, minus Minnesota. Minnesota is the one team who's struggling in the Central, just 5-10-4 overall. They've lost 7 in a row now. Have the Wild. So a 7-game losing streak for them. Colorado is hot, winning 4 in a row for sure. But Dallas just 500 in their last 10 games, but still a nice record at 12-5-2. And I would say the Winnipeg's a good surprise. Now, it should be shocking. They have the goaltending for sure. But St. Louis, right there, right behind Winnipeg, 3 points behind them. They've been a pleasant surprise. I expected them to be a little bit worse of a team. And clearly, again, Chicago just taking some lumps again this season. They're having a rough go of it. And Minnesota really, you just group them in with like New Jersey and Pittsburgh, but worse, really, as far as just having the 5 wins on the season.
Right, much worse at this point. This is not what we were expecting out of Minnesota. I do believe just this week that they have fired their coach. So they are over it there in Minnesota, and I can't blame them. This is a team that, I think we probably thought that would be contending there in the Central.
Well,
disappointing for Minnesota. Maybe
they've given up a ton of goals. 77 goals.
Of goals. So maybe we can pick on them a little bit, Steve. We're going to have to remember that as they find their way into the penalty box. So, all right, let's finish up here with the Pacific Division and then jump into the slate and see what kind of juicy stuff we can find there. The Vegas Golden Knights, probably no surprise here, are leading this division at 14-5-3. That's going to be good for 31 points. And here they are, Steve. The LA Kings, 13-3-3, good for 29 points. And the Vancouver Canucks, 14-7-1, also good for 29 points. Steve, I really like LA out west right now. I think that is a very well-rounded team, and I see them going, at least second round this year in the playoffs. Any surprises for you in the Pacific?
Well, the Kings, how about this? 9-0 on the road for the Kings. So they have yet to lose on the road this season. They have just given up 47 goals this year, which is fantastic. Now, if you want to compare that to other teams, most of the middle of the pack has given up in the mid-60s. If you're really bad, you've given up 70 or more goals. If you're having real big issues, closer to 80 goals. So the fact that they've only given up 47 goals this year is fantastic. That is by far and away the best in the NHL. So, yes, the Kings have definitely what it takes to go ahead and hoist the cup. And they are breathing down the necks of the Vegas Golden Knights, who have been struggling a little bit lately, losers of 2 in a row. And, of course, the Kings winners of 5 in a row. We'll see how Vancouver does. They've been one of the nicer surprises of the season as well, have the Canucks been. So they're going to be competitive. It looks like they're going to be competitive throughout. And then, again, man, you have another load of disappointment there in the Pacific with Seattle and Edmonton, both having terrible seasons so far.
Right, Steve. And I think Edmonton clearly the biggest surprise there is they're really struggling. But, Steve, the wild card here out west, and this, I tell you what, is a shocker to me. They started out really rough, but St. Louis, the St. Louis Blues are holding the first wild card spot at the moment with 23 points. And then it's Calgary with 21 points. Steve, we talked about it, so I'd be surprised if you didn't say something about it. But the St. Louis Blues, I mean, what do you think about this wild card out west?
I mean, it's interesting, that's for sure. We're going to have a lot to figure out. But here's the deal, too. I mean, some of these teams are going to drop off if they don't get their act together fast, like Edmonton. I mean, right now they're 6 points out behind Calgary. Minnesota, 7 points. But St. Louis, yep, they're right in it for sure. They've just had a nice, consistent overall season. They've only lost once in overtime, so that when they're getting to overtime, they're getting those wins. And 11 wins for the Blues. So, yes, a very nice start for them. As far as goals go, it's not like they're conceding a lot. They're not exactly scoring a lot. If they can find some more offense, that's really going to benefit them for sure. So that would be the key for St. Louis. It'd be interesting to see if they trade what they can get at the trade deadline, maybe to get a little bit more offense. And, that will help them substantially.
Right, Steve. Are they going to be buyers or are they going to be sellers come the trade deadline? That's going to be really interesting there for St. Louis. I think they have a couple pieces some teams might like to get their hands on if things start going south for them. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that.
One thing quick, Dave, just since we're talking about goals scored and goals given up, just so you know out there, everyone, I mean, Chicago has only scored 49 goals, which is really low. They've given up 70, which isn't the worst. But San Jose has only scored 36 goals, which is by far the worst. And they have given up 90, which is way the worst. So that's just how bad, how much worse San Jose is than Chicago. So just keep that in mind going forward, even though San Jose did beat the Capitals last night. They have shown that they are a team that can be scored on in bunches, and they cannot provide much offense either.
No, definitely something to remember when you see them in the menus. All right, Steve, Calgary Flames holding that second wild card spot with, believe it or not, a losing record of 9-10-3. So that kind of tells you where the West is. I think, in the tops of these divisions, you have some real contenders, and then you kind of have a bunch of question marks there in the middle. That's for sure. All right, Steve, we are coming up on 6:30. We're going to try and get everybody out of here for the puck drops at 7. So let's go through this menu.
All right, let's do it.
All right, we're pulling back up. It closed me out since we went through the standings there.
Here, I'll start with the first game. 7 o'clock Eastern. We have the Islanders and the Devils. The Devils are the home team, minus 162. The over-under is 6.5 in this game. As far as your goalies go, Vitek Vanacek is the one listed goalie that I have. And that's all I got. You might have something else when you pull your stuff up here. But the Devils, we talked about them being a bad team. They must kind of get the ship right at some point, you would think. The Islanders, a middle of the pack team, so good opportunity at home for New Jersey. But, this is a regional rivalry game, so a tough one for sure.
Yeah, Steve, and I only have the one goalie as well. Looks like it's going to be Vanacek. We're not sure who it is for the Islanders just yet. But, yeah, Steve, this is a divisional game. These teams aren't very far from each other. So let's start off with some goal scorers here. We'll look into here. Your top three are going to be Jack Hughes at plus 105. Tyler Toffoli is coming off a two-goal game his last time out. He's at plus 145 to score. And then you have Brock Nelson from the Islanders at plus 170. I would have to say, though, Steve, and I'll see if you agree with me here, if you're going to go by way of the goal scorer, they give you some nice numbers, but it's kind of like the touchdown score. It's definitely a risk. But for me, Steve, I don't know how many goal scorers on the Islanders I would pick. When they come to mind, that's just not a very offensive team.
No, well, I was going to say, Dave, I think I just like the under in this game, if anything. So 6.5 is a lot in the Islanders game. A team like New Jersey who, they're middle of the pack as far as goals scored and giving up goals. But the Islanders, they don't give up a lot and they don't score a lot. And I would think that they're going to kind of muck this game up a little bit. And I would not doubt to see this an under game, 6.5. So I would just look at that. That would kind of be my best play here. And really the best play, I think, is no play here. But I would take a look at that anyway. If you want to play something here, I think the under is the best play.
Yeah, Steve, I kind of agree with you. Whenever you get mixed up with the Islanders, that tends to drag you into the under. But with the Islanders, I don't want to say that maybe they're the better team, but they have the better spot in the standings of right now, and they're not a bad team. So, Steve, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the New York Islanders and the under 6.5 at plus 300. That's going to be my pick out of this game here.
All right.
So next up, we have the Florida Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Your over-under there is 6.5. Now, that's probably a more achievable one here with these two teams. Panthers, better spot in the standings. They are the underdog here at plus 114. The Maple Leafs minus 135. Steve, you have anything for the Panthers and Maple Leafs?
The Panthers have been good defensively. They've only given up 55 goals. Toronto, again, they're not exactly shooting the lights out of it either themselves. They're about middle of the pack. And this is a playoff rematch for sure. So the home team here, which is Florida, right, is
Toronto.
Toronto, okay. So as I flip back through this. So Florida on the road is 6-4-1. Toronto just 5-4. So that's not going to tell me anything. I thought Florida was the home team. They're 7-3 at home. So obviously that's not going to apply here. But the Maple Leafs have lost now 2 games in a row here, and again, this is a tough game, Dave. I think there might be something else better on the board. The goalies that I got listed here are Anthony Stolars, and Joseph Woll will be the 2 goalies here. So maybe these 2 guys can lead it to an over. But I think a better play on the board somewhere to be had. Again, a rivalry game here. I just would hope to find something else better on the slate.
Yeah, Steve, this is a tough one. Probably definitely something I'm going to leave alone. But your under, if you wanted to take a shot at another under, is going to be plus 102, and your number is 6.5.
Well, you know what? I mean, that's kind of where I would lean if you wanted to play. And we talked about it earlier in the year. I think we've had a lot of unders. Kind of the start of the season. Scores a little bit more crazy here in the last week or so. But I wouldn't doubt it if we on a nice Tuesday night after a football weekend and you have a full slate of hockey that we settle back down to some unders here.
Right, Steve. And as I'm looking at this list, I tell you what, there are quite a few divisional games this evening, so that's going to make the menu here a little tough. So
Right.
let's see what we can do. Next up, Steve, another tough one. Philadelphia is playing better. They're the home team tonight. They are hosting the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, your over-under here for me is at an even 6, with the Canes being minus 166 on the money line, and the Flyers at plus 140. Boy, Steve, another tough one. What are your thoughts here?
So I see 6.5 minus 134. I think you can take that. I think you can take the under again. I think the first 3 games could go under. We do have Carter Hart in goal and Kochetkov. Now, the Flyers have been great in terms of not allowing goals. 58 allowed on the season, so that's going to be a tribute to Carter Hart himself. So he's rebounded nicely. It's good to see Philadelphia. At one point, they were looking to get rid of the guy. You kind of figured, but they've stuck it through with him, and it seems to be paying off a little bit now. Carolina is right at the middle of the pack. I wouldn't be surprised to see Philadelphia pull off the upset here against Carolina. They are just 1 point behind them in the standings. So, a fierce game. I would lean with the under, though, overall again.
Yeah, Steve, and it's funny you say that because I'm sitting here thinking to myself, Carolina just doesn't quite have my trust this year. Now, I'm sure it'll get there, but, this just seems like a game that the Flyers could actually win at home against an opponent that, it might not show in the standings, but that we think might be just a little bit better. So this would be a good win and a good confidence booster there for the Philadelphia Flyers. So, Steve, you're going to go under, and I may just have to agree with you there. All right, here we go, Steve. Another one. Now, I think this one could trend under, too, when I think the Stars, I think good goaltending, and it makes me go to an over. So we got the Dallas Stars are in Winnipeg to take on the Jets. I have another even 6 for your over-under, with your over being at minus 105, your under at minus 115. The Stars minus 120 here, the Jets plus 100. What do you think, Steve?
Well, the Stars the Stars and the Jets are 2 of the healthier teams here in the NHL. So Dallas has no one on the injured list, on the injury report. Just a couple of players for Winnipeg, and they should be back sooner than later. So both of these teams trending right health-wise. 5.5 under plus 110. Ooh, you're getting a nice plus number, but that is that's going to be a little tough, maybe. Let's see. Dallas, again, they've only allowed 57 goals. Winnipeg has only allowed 59. They both scored decently. Winnipeg has 71. Dallas has 66. They're both coming off losses. 8-2 in their last 10 for Winnipeg. And Winnipeg is a very nice road team at 6-3-1 as well. So they've been able to handle business with that. I'm going to look at the goalie matchups to see what I got here. It is
2 very good goalies.
Yeah, it is Hellebuck and it is Jake Ottinger. I think the under is probably another good play here. It is 5.5, so I'd kind of maybe hesitant to take that. But if you want to talk divisional hockey and just a tough night, I don't see why you can't do it again if you want to just take another under here. I mean, I don't see why not. So, I'll lean with that under 5.5. 2 good goalies, 2 good teams who don't give up a lot of goals.
Right, Steve. And this goalie matchup, I like it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take some goalie props tonight. We're going to go with Jake Ottinger for over 26.5 saves. I think the Jets can get a couple more shots than, the 27 that we would need for Ottinger. But it's at a minus 125. And if you start the parlay off like I did with that first game there with a plus 300 number, I think we might be cooking here. So give me some Jake Ottinger props tonight, Steve. A little bit different way. We expect shots on goal, but we expect maybe a lower scoring game. And I think these goaltenders, could be live for some props tonight. A little bit different angle.
Good angle. And if you get an alternate save here, which you can get, right? Do I have alternate saves? Yes. So alternate saves for Ottinger. If you think that they can put the goal on net and have a decent amount. So like 33 saves is plus 340. 35 saves is plus 520.
I love it.
An exorbitant amount of saves is around 40. But I think somewhere like 33 or 35 is achievable. And probably so forth with Hellebuck. He's paying about the same numbers. 32 saves for him is plus 330.
Yeah, I really like that, Steve. I would definitely bump that number up. I think the Jets can, definitely get their shots on goal, and I like Ottinger to be one of the better tenders in the league for sure. So pretty good angle there, Steve. Definitely, I like the under as well, and it might just kind of be that kind of night there. Let's see what the next game gives us. Yeah, probably so. The St. Louis Blues are in Minnesota to take on the Wild. And, wow, how about this, Steve? I think this is the chance of the evening right now. Your over-under is at 6.5 with your over paying minus 108. Your under minus 112. But here's where it's going to get good, Steve. St. Louis Blues plus 136 on the money line. Minnesota Wild minus 162. I think this is a puck line for St. Louis all night long. I think you move it instead of plus 1.5 to minus 1.5, and you're going to get a. Let's check that out real quick before I turn it over to you to see what you think.
I got plus 300 on it.
Anyway. Wow. I love that. We see St. Louis is the better team. Minnesota really, really struggling.
They got the coaching changed, but they've given up a ton of goals. And St. Louis has been nice. Good story for them. Let's see. The goalies listed will be Jordan Bennington for St. Louis. Again, another seasoned veteran goalie who just seems to be having a good year, kind of like Carter Hart we talked about. Philip Gustafson is the goalie here for the Wild.
Right. And, Steve, if you wanted to really push it, the Blues to win this game by 3, minus 2.5 is at plus 520. Any chance you buy into that?
I mean, I think I would. I just think the Minnesota is that poor defensively that, yes, you could get a shot at that for sure. Yeah, I like the Blues on the road. It's not like it's a long trip either. It's not like it's crazy travel. And, kick them while they're down, as they say.
Exactly, Steve. And I'm going to keep an eye on this game because if it comes back next week, then I need to apologize for this pick. But I am really, really excited about the St. Louis Blues minus 1.5 at plus 330, Steve. I think that's a go.
Oh, yeah. You even have a better number than me on that. And, if you guys want to get creative out there, I can draw up a ticket. So if we like the Blues minus 1.5, we'll throw that in the ticket. And we will go ahead and I'll rewind here to our game in Dallas. And we'll take the Ottinger alternate over goals. And we can start a little round robin with that. And if we'll take Ottinger for, we won't get too crazy. We'll be right in the middle of 33 and 35. And how about this? 34 goals at plus 430 for 34 saves for Ottinger. Right now, that parlay with the Blues minus 1.5 and Ottinger for 34 saves or more is paying over 20 to 1.
I love that, Steve. I think that's, like you said, if you want to get creative and kind of push the limits a little bit, boy, I think that's a play right there, man. It just, even if you want to throw a couple bucks on it, why not? These are the trends that we're getting right now, so we're just trying to go off of that, and we're trying to pick on Minnesota.
Oh yeah,
like
I mean, you can easily bet $2.50 to win $50 if that's what you want in your pocket.
Right? Yeah, if you want to do a little something like that, I mean, who's going to be mad at a $50 bill if it hits off of $2 in a couple quarters?
Right, and you're not going to miss that at the end of the day either.
Exactly.
That's half your cup of
so little
Starbucks.
plays like that, I think, are worth it,
right.
or can be worth it.
Right. Well, I know my football winner on Sunday was a 4-digit payout, and it was a $2 bet.
Yeah, you can't beat that, Steve. Congratulations on that hit. That is a nice one. So we were going to look to keep that rolling here. All right, here we go. Pittsburgh Penguins are in Nashville to take on the Predators. Your over-under is 6.5 with your over at plus 105. Your under minus 125. Pittsburgh is minus 112 on the money line. The Preds minus 108. Steve, I'll tell you what, when I think of the Nashville Predators, I do not think of over games. I think the under 6.5 is the way to lean here, with Pittsburgh not living up to the expectations like you mentioned. So what do you think here between Pittsburgh and Nashville? I think the under just pops out immediately.
Well, the bright spot for Pittsburgh has been their goaltending and their defense. Just 52 goals allowed for the Pens. Middle of the pack there for Nashville. And Nashville is probably playing a little bit better than what everyone kind of expected that they would. I know they've been decent with Saros. Again, I mean, here you go. Some veteran goalies who just have been around the block with Usay Saros and Tristan Yari. Now, I would not be shocked if you had some more alternate saves on some goalies here, to be honest. You have both decent goals here, or both with decent goalies here. And Nashville actually will put the puck on net a little bit, average in terms of goals scored. In Pittsburgh, you're waiting for them to score more goals. So you got to figure they're going to at least get some shots on goals. But I would be shocked to see like a Usay Saros alternate over goals. Over 33 for him is plus 300, plus 370 for 34 more goals, or 4.5 to 1 for 35 plus.
Right. So yeah, Steve, that's certainly one way to look at it. I do happen to agree with you, though. I think that the Preds are probably playing a little bit better than people give them credit for. They're just kind of that quiet team there in the middle of the road. You know what I mean?
Yep.
All right, Steve. So let's go here. We're having some more loading issues here. Go ahead and jump on the next game on your list. We were at Pittsburgh.
I think the next game on my list will be, we got all those, Seattle and Chicago, 8:40 puck drop Eastern Standard Time. Let's see. The Blackhawks are the underdog at home, plus 158. Over under is 6.5. Now, just from looking at all the updated numbers we've been kind of going through here lately. Now, we already talked about Chicago, about how many goals they've given up. They've given up 70 on the season, just scoring 49. So a little bit of ineptitude offensively. Seattle has only scored 62, but they've allowed 78. Now, if there's going to be any point for these offenses to get correct, it's probably against each other here, to be honest. So I would actually see this as an over game. Over 6.5, I think, is the better play here. This is the first over of the slate that I would go for on the night so far. Mrazek is listed, and Philip Grubauer is listed as well. Neither one has been exactly blowing the doors off it here. So I would lean over 6.5 goals in this game.
Yeah, Steve, I'd have to agree with you there, just because what we talked about when we were going over the standings there with the Blackhawks. And maybe this is one of those games where Seattle can just kind of take advantage of that. And the Blackhawks showed that, every once in a while they can score a couple goals. So if they can just get a couple, I really think that helps there, Steve. I'm gonna have to agree with the over 6.5. I'd also look at the Kraken on the puck line there at -1.5 for +136 as well. Is that something that you could maybe buy in on?
Yeah, I think so. I think the Kraken are the better team here. Probably, they started off rough. Now they might be correcting the ship a little bit here as of late. Let me see here. There's Seattle in their last 10, 4-3-3 losers of they've lost just the one in a row, and a -16 goal differential. But I think Seattle is the better team than Chicago. So yeah, take them. Seattle,
absolutely, Steve.
Seattle's injury list not nearly as terrible as maybe some of these other teams. Burakovsky is on that list, though. Again, I mean, he's been hurt forever. Chicago, missing Taylor Hall. He's been gone for the whole season. Jared Tenorti, he's out right now as well. But I would just think this would be an over type of game.
I think so too, Steve. I think you could go both ways on it, really. And if you wanted to go a little bit lower risk, I think you take Seattle on a 60-minute line because I see -192 here. So you can get a little bit better if you go there on the 60, which I think is something that I would consider as well. Now, here's an interesting one, Steve, because I feel like this game should go one way, but I think it has a possibility of going the exact opposite. The Tampa Bay Lightning are in Arizona to take on the Coyotes. Your over-under is 6.5, with your over paying -135. Your under paying +114, with Tampa Bay -118 on the money line, and the Arizona Coyotes -102. Now, Steve, by all means, I see Tampa Bay at -1.5 on the puck line at +200, and I really want to take it, but I feel like Arizona is that team that's just feisty and can really break up something like that, especially with Tampa Bay probably not playing their best hockey right now. So, Steve, tell me, what do you think about that?
Well, the one thing that's going to stick out to me is going to be this injury report for Arizona, because they're the most banged up team in the NHL right now. So that they're going to have to pay the price a little bit on that. And I think this is the kind of game that sets up well for Tampa Bay here. So I would actually look at Tampa Bay on an alt line just because the injury list for Arizona is loaded up to the gore. Not so bad for Tampa Bay. This is a good chance for them to get a nice win on the road in that little Coliseum there. -2.5 for the Lightning is +300. I like that. I think you can get on board with that. And I think I've found my little round robin play here for the evening. But go ahead and give me Tampa in this one. Jonas Johansson and Connor Ingram are your listed goalies here. But I'll take the Lightning at -2.5. I'll throw them on my ticket with Ottinger, alternate saves, the Blues -1.5. And I'll take Saros with that 34 saves too on a nice number. And that 4-game parlay for $5 pays $1,987.
Oh, I love it. I love it. 60-minute line for the Tampa Bay Lightning is something that I would look at as well, +125 for them. They should be able to get it done there in Arizona. But we'll find out about 9 o'clock this evening when that game starts. All right, so give us the Lightning. But I just wanted to make that point that, Arizona can be that team to kind of screw things up a little bit sometimes. But they're banged up, it sounds like, so give us the Lightning. All right, Steve, we got 2 games left.
All right.
The Vegas Golden Knights are in Edmonton to take on the Oilers. Again, your over-under is 6.5, with the over paying -108, under paying -112. The Vegas Golden Knights, how about this, Steve? +124 on the money line, while the Oilers are -148. Does this just seem like a straight-up Vegas play? It does to me. Can you make sense of these numbers?
Well, you got to think Edmonton's going to give their best effort they can because as the Stanley Cup champs. So I think they'll be productive at home offensively. Now, they're going to give up goals. So I would lean towards the over in this game. I think over 6.5 is fair. I think it could go much higher than that, to be honest. I think we could get closer to 10 goals in this game. In fact, this is probably your highest scoring game of the night. I'll go ahead and say that right now. So if you wanted to do some kind of alternate total goal thing, I would be fine if you wanted to. Over 8.5 goals is +310. To get to 10 goals is +680. I mean, this definitely has a 6-4 written all over it to me.
You definitely could.
So I would lean Golden Knights, and I would definitely go over in this game.
Yeah, Steve, that's just really wild to me. I get it. Yeah, Edmonton's gonna, they're gonna play hard and they're gonna give 100% effort at home. But to think that you're putting Vegas as the underdog with a plus number next to their name, I can't make any sense of it. That's for sure. That just seems kind of silly to me. But they must know something that I don't. So, all right, give us the over and give us Vegas. I'm going to actually take Vegas on the 60-minute line. You're getting +205 out of it, Steve.
Yeah, that's that completely fair game on that, David. Yep.
All right, last game of the night. We got about 10 minutes, so we'll wrap this one up, and we'll talk a little bit of futures. I'm sure there's some good numbers there, and then we'll get everybody out of here. So, Steve, Anaheim in Vancouver to take on the Canucks. Your over-under, again, is 6.5, with the over paying -120. Your under paying +100. Anaheim Ducks are +220 on the money line. Vancouver is -270. Now, Vancouver's been playing pretty nice. Anaheim has certainly picked it up, though, as well. I think that they could actually challenge Vancouver in this game, and you're getting a really nice money line price there. I think that's something to consider. But, Steve, I'm going to keep this one real simple and just go with the over. I think these two teams can get there.
Let's see here. For Anaheim so far this season, they have been, a little bit better than expected, but they've given up 73 goals, David, which is a decent amount for sure. Vancouver has scored 88 goals while just allowing 56. I would lean Vancouver here as my side, but I get your over for sure. I could see that all day. But I will look at Vancouver. And again, if you wanted to get feisty and move some lines around, I think you probably could in this game as well. Now Anaheim's been pretty stout defensively with John Gibson there. Again, another veteran goalie who seems to be playing very, very well. Let me get to the more NHL odds, is that they've put me to the main screen here. And Vancouver is at home. Now they're laying a big number, -275 for sure. So yes, probably the cheaper bet is to take the over here. And if you want to do an alternate puck line, you probably can. Listed goalies, for me, I just see Thatcher Demko as the only one listed.
Same.
And let's see, alternate puck line for Vancouver is probably not going to be good enough to get too frisky. Yeah, -2.5 is +144. The Ducks don't concede as many for me to be comfortable laying that many goals, especially if Anaheim can get a couple of goals themselves. So let's go with the over here. I like your play. But yeah, if you need Vancouver in a straight up parlay at the end of the day, just to juice things up a little bit, then might as well go ahead and throw them in there at -275. But we've seen these lose before plenty of times. So for that fact alone, probably a no play for me.
Gotcha. All right, Steve, let's take a look at some of these futures. We got about 5 minutes here, so we are right on schedule. Let's start out west, Steve. You have the Colorado Avalanche at plus 400, and I'm going to give you the four favorites right here, and then you can tell me what you think about that, and we'll look at some of the oddballs here. Colorado at plus 400, Vegas also at plus 400, Dallas Stars at plus 500, and look at that, the LA Kings to win this conference at plus 600. Steve, I'm going to go with the Kings this year. I think that's going to be my Western Conference horse to ride, so to speak. So give me the Kings at plus 600. I think you're getting a nice price on that, and they are, like I said, playing very good hockey, and they are a very well-rounded team. I think they have what it takes this year, Steve. So what are you thinking here?
Well, some of these teams are shocking to me that they're still, like Edmonton is plus 850. We'll get to the East in a minute, but there's a couple surprising ones there as well.
I have 12-1 on Edmonton.
Do you? Okay. Yep. What's your number on Vancouver?
12-1.
I have 17-1. So again, all the more reason to shop around. So I would take a look at that. But since you are, and we do see random long shot teams make it, you know what? You're priced in right now what's your number on the Blues?
All right, so my number on the Blues is 40-1.
I have 42-1. So that's right in that range. And now would be the time to take them, because I think that number only gets worse the further they kind of stay in things. Everyone else is bound to regress a little bit, and you'll get a better number on them at some point. Maybe even the Kings included on that, as I just see plus 550. But I would look towards the bottom of the board as someone who's up there, who can, has a good shot of making the playoffs right now, and can, just secretly do some damage once you get there. And to me, that would be the Blues at 42-1, right there in the West. Right.
I mean, hey, we see it every year. I mean, it's, that old saying is all you got to do is make it.
Well,
and you never know what could happen once you're in.
If you played this game last year, you got plenty of good numbers on all the guys who ended up winning the Central just alone,
Right. All right, Steve, the Eastern Conference, Boston Bruins at plus 475, the Rangers at plus 500, Carolina plus 600, and look at Toronto at plus 650, even though they are holding the last wild card spot at the moment. The Devils plus 750, Florida Panthers plus 750, the Lightning plus 950, and the Penguins at 16-1. What are your thoughts here in the East, Steve? I honestly don't know who to take at the moment. I guess it would have to be Boston if you're looking towards the top. But you're getting a nice Islanders price, and you're getting a nice Flyers price too. So what do you think here, Steve?
I see the Flyers at 85-1. You might have better than that. But again, now's the time to buy on them, just because if they continue to do better, that number will disappear and they won't get that number back. Same with Detroit in a way, 30-1 for them. I would maybe look at those two as long shots right now. Again, playing the game where these guys might not have these numbers anymore. And some of these top tier guys, once they fade back a little bit, you can probably get a better number on them.
Right. Yep, I like that. Detroit 30-1 I have. So I like that play as well. All right, let's touch on the divisions real quick, and then we'll get on out of here. Boston plus 100 to win their division. Panthers at plus 340. The Leafs at plus 380. And the Tampa Bay Lightning at plus 900. Any suitors there, Steve? 22-1 for the Red Wings to win that division. I love it. Sign me up.
Yeah, that's the one I would look for because they're right there within grabbing distance for sure. Yep.
All right, into the Metro, the Rangers at minus 145, the Hurricanes at plus 250, the Devils at plus 750, and the Penguins at 18-1. The Islanders 30-1. So if we're looking towards the bottom, give me that. And I don't know towards the top. I think that's going to end up changing. I know the Rangers have it now, but there's some good teams in that division, so I could see some, kind of jostling of positions there. What do you think, Steve?
You know what? Capitals 35-1. Maybe that gets worse. You know what? I would throw a little penny on the Flyers. Why not? Even right now, just a $3 bet would win you about $330 at least on my book at 110-1. And they're playing decent, so might as well take a shot with them. I think the Rangers do end up being the class of this division at the end of the day, though.
All right, Pacific Division. The Kings plus 120 to win that division. Vegas plus 140. The Canucks plus 550, and Edmonton 22-1. I don't know, Steve. I don't really like these Pacific numbers. They are real low. I guess.
Yeah,
give me the Kings,
I'll have to pass. I'll have to pass on that.
Yeah, I just don't like any of those numbers. Really, they're not great. And we're going to see a lot of position jockey in there, I think, as well. All right, let's wrap things up with the Central. We got the Avalanche at plus 110, the Stars at plus 155, the Jets with a nice number of plus 425, and the Blues, Steve, 50-1. You know what? Give me a little St. Louis play, and just for the hell of it, give me that. I like that Winnipeg plus 425 number. What says you?
Well, I would again take St. Louis, and some of these bigger numbers that we mentioned, like Detroit, Philadelphia, you can make little round robins with these guys. So if you even hit like two of the three, you'll get a nice payout at the end of the day. So now is the time to play around with some of those. If you like some of the longer shots who are right there at the top of the standings and everything that we talked about.
Absolutely. All right, Steve, give me your best bets of the evening.
I'll take the Blues minus 1.5 at plus 300. You talked me into Ottinger on his saves. I'll take him for 34. I'll take Saros for 34 saves as well. Give me the Lightning minus 2.5 goals on the puck line at plus 300. And I'll look for the big time shootout with the Golden Knights and the Oilers. Over 9.5 is plus 680. If I go ahead and invest in a little $17 round robin parlay ticket, let's see, if I hit 3 of these 5, then I'll win about $129 on the average. If I hit 4 of the 5, I'll go ahead and hit about 1,600. And if we sweep the board, then we'll go ahead and bank in about $13,000. So I'm going to look at that.
Very nice, Steve. All right, I'm going to go with the Islanders and the under of 6.5 plus 300 there. I'm going to take the Ottinger saves, but I'm going to go with the lower one that they set of 26.5. I'm also going to go Blues on the puck line minus 1.5. Really good number of plus 330 there. And Steve, I'm going to take a under 6.5 between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Nashville Predators. All right, well, there is the slate tonight. I think we've found some really good stuff, and we will be back next Tuesday. We got the Friday Soccer Paycheck coming up, right, Steve?
Yep, 4:00 this Friday, and the round robin Sunday morning, 7 a.m.
All right, well, we look forward to putting some more content out there for you. Hopefully we have helped you along the way to find some different angles, and we will see you right back here next Tuesday evening. All right, everybody, have a